One main way that oscillators are used in sound design and sound synthesis are to make sounds. We call these types of oscillators voltage-controlled oscillators, or VCOs. They basically work by alternating an electrical current between two states to make a waveform that can be amplified and shaped into the desired sound. VCOs utilize different waveforms to make tones because each waveform has specific sound characteristics, and the most common are sine, triangle, sawtooth, and square. This is a sine wave. A sine wave has a smooth and clean sound. It's only composed of the fundamental tone, meaning it has no harmonics. Square waves are composed of fundamental tones and whole odd number multiples of the fundamental, which we call harmonics. This gives the square wave a fuller and buzzier sound. Triangle waves have harmonics just like square waves, however, they reduce in amplitude the further away from the fundamental tone they are. It's smoother than the square wave, but not as smooth as the sine wave. Triangle waves are commonly described as sounding bright. This is a sawtooth wave. They have the most buzz in their sound because they have the most harmonic content out of all of the waveform types that we've talked about so far. There are two terms associated with all of these waveforms that have acoustical applications, and these are frequency and amplitude. The frequency refers to how many cycles the wave makes per second. Higher frequencies result in higher pitches, and lower frequencies create lower pitches. The frequency is reported in hertz, and most VCOs have a dedicated knob to alter the frequency, or a port called voltage per octave, or V per oct, that can be used to manipulate the pitch. The amplitude refers to the strength of the wave, and will result in louder or quieter sounds. We can see the difference in amplitudes of these two sine waves on the scope. The yellow sine wave is taller and therefore louder than the red sine wave. Let's look at a couple VCOs and see what features they have for tone creating. Here's one of my favorites. This is the Pony VCO by Bufaco. It can produce all of the four types of waves we talked about, and it has a built-in wave folder so you can make the waves more complex, which manipulates the harmonic content. Definitely check this one out. It's very versatile. I did a video on it if you're interested. This is Basel by Volt. It produces a sine wave and has two mod functions to manipulate the wave. Here's how it sounds. Here's one that's very feature-rich. It is the Terrorform by Valley. It can produce many different waveforms, including the four basic types that we talked about. This type of oscillator is called a wavetable oscillator, and these oscillators are known for their ability to produce dynamic and evolving timbres. Another type of oscillator commonly used in sound synthesis is referred to as a low-frequency oscillator, or LFO. These utilize the same waveforms as VCOs, however they produce frequencies that are extremely low, usually below the audible range, and they're typically used to modulate tones. Low-frequency oscillator is a bit of a misnomer because they can still reach high frequencies, but from a technical standpoint, an LFO is an oscillator that runs lower than 20 Hz, or 20 cycles per second. Let's look at a really popular LFO called the Oct by Instruo. The Oct produces 8 triangle waves that can be used to modulate tones. I'm going to use 2 of the inputs to modulate the basal VCO we talked about earlier. Just by adding those 2 ports, we turn this sine wave into an evolving tone that has a bit of rhythm to it. That concludes this quick description of oscillators. If you have any questions, please post them in the comments. If you like this kind of content, you can let me know that by liking and subscribing, and of course checking out my other content. I have a Ko-fi page linked in the description where you can find free resources like my VCV Rack cheat sheet and my patch collection. I hope you have a great day, and I'll catch you in the next one.